Hello my students, today's session we're going to be talking about poetry. You need to know what's poetry. It's one of the literary forms. We have also prose and we have drama. So poetry, it's different from drama and novel because they are written in lines, and these lines are rhyming and have external and internal music. The division of the poem is called the stanza. This is what's meant by poetry. The person who writes poetry is called a poet. The person who writes a poetry is called a poet. So, in order to analyze poetry, we need to know some elements or characteristics of how to analyze a poem. When you start analyzing a poem, you have some lines written in front of you. So when you start reading them, you start thinking of the form or the structure. Below the form or the structure, you need to speak about 3 or 4 things. First of all, how many lines? Number 2, how many stanzas? Number 3, the language, whether it is simple, complicated, upgraded, sophisticated, and so on. And of course, when you talk about the language, you need to talk about from which point of view the poem is written, because if it's a child, so the word that is going to use a little bit simpler, a little bit easy, it can be understood without searching for the meaning in dictionary and so on. If a woman is talking, so I think that she's going to be using words in order to arouse certain feeling, in order to make you pity or sympathize with her cause. If he's a grown-up man, and so on. You need to find out from which point of view the poem is written in order to know the language, what kind of language is written. Maybe somebody who is not educated, so you're going to find that the words are not written correctly, they are not uttered well, so this means that he's not a well-educated person. Or if somebody is highly educated, okay, he is very cultured person, so you're going to find that he's using highly elevated words, okay, to show you how classy he is, or how intelligent or sophisticated or complicated he is. So he's going to use upgraded words and big ones in order to have a great impact in you or to impress the readers and so on. So when I talk about the structure, I need to know how many stanzas, how many lines of each stanza, the language, and of course concerning the language I need to know from which point of view the poem is written, and the last thing, which is the rhyme scheme, which is part of the structure. So number 1, I need to know who is the poet. Number 2, I need to know the structure or the form of the poem. Then number 3, I need to know what is the poem is talking about. I need to paraphrase these lines so I can explain it, I can talk about it, I do understand it, because of course the lines are written in a different way, not like when you are narrating something or writing a paragraph. The ideas are very, very clear, but in a poem you need to make connections every now and then between the lines and the stanzas and the other stanzas and so on. So I need to paraphrase the lines in order to understand the poem. And of course there is no studying, no memorizing, understand using your own language. Again, there is no studying at all. Try to understand, make connection, reflect on the information written in front of you, and use your own words. This is very, very, very important. So, as I said, I'm gonna paraphrase these lines to understand it using my own words. Then after analyzing and understanding it, I try to search for figurative language. Yes, as some of you said, try to find there is a metaphor, personification, anaphora, anastrophe, repetition, contrast, alliteration. You see, all of these kind of poetic terms. Okay, we call it figurative language. All of this below the umbrella of figurative language. Okay, onomatopoeia, apostrophe. When you are calling somebody who is not there, this is apostrophe. This is figurative language. Okay. After talking about the figurative language and searching for all the figurative language and all the the sensory words used by the poet in order to make you visualize the poem, or make you feel what he's talking about, or make you express, go through his own experience and so on. So this is what's meant by figurative language. I need to know, after reading it, analyzing it, and finding out the figurative language, I need to know what is the main idea, what is the moral lesson behind it, what is the message behind this poem, what he's talking about. So I'm searching about the main idea, or the theme, or the moral lesson, or the message. All these are synonyms to each other. Okay? So I'm searching for the theme or the main idea. After searching for the theme and the main idea, I need to know the mood. What is the feeling that I get after reading this poem? What do I get? What do I understand? This is another point. I need to know what is the mood of the poem. The writer used his own tone to express a certain feeling, which is the mood. So the writer's tone and the reader's mood, the feeling that he gets after reading his lines. Okay? So this is the mood. What is the mood of the poem? The last thing, what is the genre? What is the type of this poem? Any literary work has genre and subgenre. The genre is the forms of literature, whether it's fiction or non-fiction or poetry or drama. The subgenre is what kind of poetry, because I have a lot of the types of poetry. For example, I have the dramatic poem, which is usually found in dramas, in plays. We have the lyrical poem, where the poet is talking or expressing his own feelings and emotions. We have the epic poem, where it's a long one, it's a long poem, and it's actually talking about ancient battles, ancient wars, great warriors, great actions, great deeds. So we call it epic. We also have the ballad, which is part of narrative poem, because you are narrating a story in a form of a poem. You are narrating a story in the form of a poem. So you are writing only lines, but it's a story. So that's why we call it a narrative poem. Part of the narrative poem, or an example of a narrative poem, a poem called a ballad. And sometimes the ballad has no rhyme scheme, so we call it free verse. No rhyme scheme. It's a free verse. Okay? We have also the poem that consists of 14 lines, which is called sonnet. It's a poem consists of 14 lines, and we call this is a sonnet. We have two types of sonnet. We have the Shakespearean sonnet, we have the Petrarchan sonnet. Okay? And they are 14 lines. So whenever you find the poem consists of 14 lines, it's a sonnet. Okay? We also have an elegy poem. An elegy poem when you are expressing sad feeling for the death of somebody. We call this elegy. Okay? This is very briefly, quick review on the elements of a poem. What are the tools you need in order to analyze a poem? Okay? Now we're going to talk about the first poem in our collection. It's called A Child to His Sick Grandfather. A Child to His Sick Grandfather. If you look at this picture, A Child to His Sick Grandfather. The first thing written beside the title is the name of the poet, by Joanna Baillie. She's a Scottish poet and dramatist. She wrote a lot of poems and she wrote a lot of dramas. And she's one of the great poetic, the great dramatic, great dramatist at the time, and she is one of the great romantic poets at that time. Okay, so we are talking about romanticism. We are talking about the feeling of love. When you love somebody, a lot of emotions aroused. When you love him, you care for him, you think of him, you are longing, you are caring, you are admiring, you are looking up at him as a role model. Okay, and of course when you lose such a person, such a lovely person, the person that you love, of course you feel sad, frustrated, depressed, empty. lonely. Okay, so from the picture here we can see that we are talking about an old man, but we don't know whether this old man is still alive or he died. So if he's still alive, so maybe the child, as it is mentioned, a child is sick grandfather, the child is trying to cheer his grandfather up, maybe because he's sick, or maybe he doesn't want him to leave him, he's afraid to die and leave him alone. As you can see from the second picture, that the child is trying to depend on himself. It seems that he's alone, or this is what his grandfather taught him, to wear the shoes alone, although he's still a kid. Okay, as you can see from the third picture, the hand of the grandfather, how old he is, okay, compared to the hands of a child. Okay, in the first picture, find out that the child is holding the grandfather's hand. He's tapping or holding his hand. On the other child, somebody is tapping on the child's head, which gives the feeling of secure, or gives the feeling that I'm there, I'm supporting you, I am here for you. So if we said that this grandfather is dead, okay, if he is dead, so why do you think the child is writing this sick grandfather? Since he's dead, maybe he's longing for him, he is remembering how beautiful the days were when his father was still alive. He remembered the nice time they had together. Okay, maybe he's sad that he left him, that he died. It's a kind of nostalgia when you remember something in the past. It's called nostalgia. So this is one point that you need to think about. Is the grandfather alive or dead? If he's alive, why he's writing the poem? If he's dead, why he's writing the poem? These two questions, you need to think about it. Why? Why he's writing this poem? Okay? So, if I'm talking about that this grandfather died and the child is writing a poem for his grandfather, so the feeling is sadness, the feeling is grief, the feeling is sorrow, the feeling is mourning. Mourning here is which mourning, which means good morning. No, mourning here means sadness, the feeling of sadness for losing somebody, that somebody dies. Okay, these are the feelings that we get when I lose somebody who's dearer to me. Other person is gonna think out of the box by saying that maybe he's writing this poem because they were not in good terms and he's complaining, or maybe he is regretting that they didn't have time to be together. Maybe all your answers, when you are just thinking, when you are just guessing, all your answers will be accepted. Since you are guessing, we didn't go through the poem yet, so all the answers are accepted. Since you know how to justify your answer, or give me reasons for your answer. The word justify means give me reasons, or give me evidence for your answers. I accept all the answers. Please remember these words because it comes in the exam. Justify your answer, give evidence, explain, explore, elaborate, discuss, comment. These are the types of questions that you will see in the exam. So you need to understand the meaning in order to know how to answer the question. Okay? Let's watch this video in order to have a hint what kind of poem we are talking about. Who is our poet? Of course, she is a woman. As you can see, her name is Joanna. Okay, so let's have a quick brief about what is the poem.
Poem in the relationships collection. So we're going to look at A Child with a Sick Grandfather on page 7. This was published in 1790 and it's part of the romantic period. So think about what you already know about romantic poems and romantic poets and how they express really big emotions in very structured ways. So you already got a clue about what the poem might look like. Okay, on page 7, I'd like you to create a mimer of what you're calling to list of any connotations or associations linked to the poem's title. Use questions to guide your thinking. I'd like you to pause the video now and complete this task. And you spend about 1 or 2 minutes.
So
Okay,
here I told you, and I'm asking you that go through the poem and tell me how many lines are there in this poem. If you count the lines, you're going to find that there are 48 lines. So as I said, you need to know the structure of the form. So we're going to start with how many lines is the poem? It's 48 lines. Okay, how did she divide the poem? For how many stanzas? 8 stanzas. So it's 48 lines, 8 stanza. Each stanza consists of 6 lines. Okay, so we know now the lines and the stanza. Okay, what about the rhyme scheme? If you look at the rhyme scheme, you're gonna find that it's repeated. It's repeated throughout the whole poem. Every 2 lines are rhyming together, so it's a heroic couplet. It's A, B, B, C, C. So generally the rhyme scheme of the poem, it's A, B, B, C, C, and that's it. You don't have to repeat it again and again. Whenever he's asking you, stanza 4 for example, asking you to paraphrase it and write the rhyme scheme. The rhyme scheme is going to be A, B, B, C, C, and that's it. For those who don't know what's meant by rhyme scheme, it means that the sound at the end of the line, it is repeated. So that's why we said the word rhyming. The sound, there is a music in my ears. Okay. So if the first line is rhyming with the second line, so we call this as a heroic couplet. 2 lines are rhyming together. So line 1 takes letter A in the alphabets, and line 2 will take letter A if they are rhyming together, and it will take letter B if they are not rhyming together. Like for example, when I say, I wandered lonely as a cloud, okay, over high valleys and hills, cloud, hills. They are not rhyming. Aud, ills. This is the sound that you hear at the end of each line. They are not rhyming. So how I'm going to write the rhyme scheme is going to be A, B. Now if they are rhyming together, like for example, I am busy said the air, I am busy said the sea. For example, making continents to be. C, B. E. This is the sound that you hear. E. Sound ya jama'a. Don't look at the letters, because sometimes the C is written S-C-E-A, okay, and B it's only E, but it has the same sound. Don't tell me it doesn't end with A. No, I'm focusing on the sound. I am busy said the C, making continents to be. I am busy said the C, so it's A. They all A because I'm starting with the first letter in the alphabets. Line 1, alphabet A, letter A. Line 2, either it's A if they are rhyming, or it's B if they are not rhyming together. Okay, so from quick reading to the poem, I get to know how many lines, how many stanza, and what is the rhyme scheme of the whole poem. What is the rhyme scheme of the whole poem? In order to finish the part of structure and form, from which point of view is this poem written? As I said, all the time try to make connections. Look at the title. You are saying that he's using complicated words, but they are not complicated. They are very easy words. They are straightforward words. So the language is very simple, because the poem is written from the point of view of a child. He said a child to his grandfather. So the child is the one who is speaking. He is the speaker in this poem. Try to connect, ya habibi. Try to connect as much as you can. Connect the title, connect the paraphrasing, okay, in order to have a lot of info. Okay, so this is part of the structure. 48 lines, 8 stanzas, simple language, straightforward language, because the poem is written from the child's point of view, and the rhyme scheme is A, B, B, C, C. Okay? Let's see who is the poet. Let's know something about the poet. Here's the poet, as you can see. She is Joanna Bailey, and she is describing a grandfather's physical deterioration from the eyes of a child or the eyes of an adult remembering childhood memories, either this or that. Throughout the poem, it's clear that the grandfather is very tired and unwell, and the child seems to go through the different stages of grief, with coming to terms with this situation. The narrator begins almost angry to begin with, and then seems to soften, bargain, and eventually accept through euphemism. This is one of the terms, by the way, euphemism. It means when I don't want to say harsh words. I don't want to use harsh words. I want to be decent, pleasant, delicate, okay, considerate. I care about others' feelings, okay. The repetition of that and emphasize that the granddad has a multitude of problems, and the reality is that he is not going to survive. The rhyme scheme has a childlike nursery rhyme quality. Okay, this is very important. Okay, we need to have an overall view of the poem and know what is it talking about in order to understand the lines of the poem itself. This is very, very important. Okay, so here, as you can see, that Bailey's poem explores a moment of intense emotion, but in a controlled and reflective way, making it very much in keeping with the romantic literary tradition. Bailey grew up with a love of nature, which can be seen with her knowledge of animals within the poem. Bailey also grew up with a love of storytelling, as her father was a clergyman. A clergyman, it means that he is a religious man, okay? So he had access to books and literature. Bailey also often used the theme of youth versus age in her writing. If I'm going to talk about the speaker, it's unclear whether the narrator is Bailey herself or if she has chosen to use the persona of unknown character reminiscences with the poem. Bailey's own father died 1778, and this poem was published 1790. So we can infer that some of the feelings associated with the death are taken from personal experience. This is what I'm talking about. Connect. Try to connect. Whether Bailey is the main speaker, she's talking about her own experience, or she's remembering an experience, or maybe she is making a connection between the death of her grandfather and the death of her father. Or she invented this poem talking about her grandfather, but she wanted to impose her feelings to her father, who died 12 years before publishing this poem. Her father died 1778, and the poem was published in 1790. So maybe it's an impact of her personal experience on the poem. This is very important. So when I'm asking about the speaker, you're going to talk about who is writing the poem. Is it Bailey? Is it Joanna herself? Or she invented an imaginary character? Or maybe it's a kind of nostalgia. Or maybe it's a true feelings, but not about her grandfather, maybe about her father who died 12 years ago before publishing this poem. This is how we analyze a poem. This is how we analyze any poem. Okay, so your task today is to go through the poem again, try to read it, try to analyze, try to understand what the speaker is talking about, and try to find out whether the speaker is talking about his personal experience, and whether the speaker is Joanna Bailey herself or not. Okay, is it a child, or maybe it's a childhood memory? So read the poem again and try to find out What am I talking about? Who is the speaker in this poem? And you're gonna find the answers. And if you can find some of the figurative language, the simplest one, whether it is if there is alliteration, consonance, contrast, repetition, onomatopoeia, simile, metaphor, personification. So go through the poem again and try to find this information for the next time session. Thank you so much. See you. Bye.